good week. We finally got some rain. I thought we was well needed. Didn't have any major storms like they predicted, so we're happy for that. I'd like to thank everyone for that. I had a lot of sickness in January, but I'm recovered, and I thank the Lord, and I thank y'all for keeping me in your prayers. This time I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Willie, you want to do the invocation?
Yes. Father, we want to thank you today for your grace and mercy. And we hope the things we do here today will help our towns, communities, and our county. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. This time I'd like for a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Could I have a motion to approval of the minutes?
All in favor? Could I have a motion to approve?
Motion made, have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Economic development. Brittany?
Good morning, everyone. Full circle moment. My first mayor's coalition was last February here, so now I'm presenting. So I feel like I moved up. Couple updates for you. So we have a total of 77 active projects. You'll see this on your infographic on the table in front of you. There's also some extra copies over there. Things are going well. Still busy as ever. Rob is actually supposed to have a visit today, $500 million. They actually moved to Wednesday, so a graphite company is looking to come here closer to Corporation Drive, so we're excited about that one. Roughly about 400 to 500 jobs, so that one's moving. Robert is headed up to DC for Select USA, so to meet with a couple more companies, international foreign direct investment. We are always looking for sites and buildings, so if you guys have some lands and buildings that you guys want to let us know about, we'd be happy to come look at them, take some pictures, and get them on our website. It's typically the update that I think he gives. I did want to introduce, we do have a new staff member joining our team. She joined in February.
Good morning, my name is Shayla Scott. Like she said, I joined in February. I'm so happy to be on the FCEDC team. It's just become a new family for me. I'm really excited to support wherever I can. I am the project manager, so right now I'm just supporting where I'm needed. Like Brittany said, I started in February. I don't plan to be presenting a year from now, but if I'm needed, I'm more than happy to. Nice to meet you all.
Do you guys have any questions or anything? Yes.
Yes, Sonia Cooper, Mayor Virginia here in Spring Lake. A lot of your announcements are really huge projects, but how can you all help those smaller cities with smaller projects, or is that not in your scope?
A little bit, and you're going to test my knowledge. I've only been here a little over a year, but we do recently had a can-do performance financing program. So that was to help innovators, businesses in the technology, cybersecurity, aerospace sectors. We just kind of are going through our first round. We had about 150 inquiries, so we will be opening up a second round. That's for existing businesses that need help reaching capital, breaking down those barriers, and then in turn can create jobs. So I can provide more information about that once we open the second round. That would be kind of what we'd be able to help local small businesses here. Other than that, I know that the city's economic and community development program also has a lot of great opportunities. I think the county does.
Want me to jump in?
If you could help.
I think, Mayor Pro Tem, to your point, under Cumberland County's umbrella, so Cumberland County, Fayetteville Economic Development, so we jointly fund that. I think under that umbrella, that, in my opinion, extends to our great municipalities. I think where you should go is maybe take your Economic Development Committee, have a conversation and meet with Rob or Robert, set up a meeting. I'm glad to participate in that as well. And talk about what opportunities are here. I know there's a lot of opportunities and discussions around some military DoD opportunities here in Spring Lake based on some of the footprint that you already have. But I would encourage other mayors to do that as well. With Robert, he is more than willing to come have those conversations and have had those conversations. So I think that would be a good path, and as always, I'm willing to lend my time and energy to be there as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, guys. Oh, so sorry, sir. Yes, sir.
Is there any update on the dairy farm that you announced at the last mayor's coalition meeting?
I don't have an update on that. I do apologize. I can reach out and hopefully get an answer to you by the end of this meeting. Thank you.
And I failed to thank Spring Lake for hosting us this morning. Thank y'all. Economic Development, Fort Bragg Garrison Commander, Colonel Nixon.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, Colonel Nixon, Fort Bragg Garrison Commander. Been in the seat now, I haven't been here about a year now. I would like to say now I know what I'm finally doing. No, it's really about 5 years. Yeah, I can come. That's easier. All right, yeah, so like I said, thanks for having me. I've come to quite a few of these already, I think, Linden and a couple other places, but just want to talk about a couple of things we have going on here on the base. Some key events coming up. First, I want to tell you, if you look to your, I know at the table, I don't know if out there we have them, but the map app, this is a really great app. I just ran it on my phone, and we post everything we're doing on this app, so it's a really good event. It's a really good thing. So you don't have to, go through the various websites. You can go to one stop, and it'll tell you all these events we have coming up. And since I'm talking about that, we've got a lot of things coming up here soon. We've got next Friday night next Saturday, 17 May. We have the Run, Honor, Remember event. We'll display like 7,000 sets of boots there at Hedrick Stadium. If you're not familiar with that is, kind of on Long Street and Riley Road near Womack Hospital. Just a great event. We'll do a 5K run for anyone that wants to come out and run the next morning on Saturday morning, or it's run walk. We'll say a run or walk, however you choose to do it. But it's just a great event to bring the community together. It's open to the public, so we hope we see as many people out there as we can. Then we have the following week. We have our All-American Week. I think a lot of people in the room here are probably familiar with that. Always a great time for the 82nd. I spent 12 years over there, and All-American Week is just kind of that time of the year. We all take some downtime, play a lot of sports, do a couple of jumps out there on Sicily, and then if you had never seen it, the Division Review, we've done it on Sicily Drop Zone, but historically we did it on Pike Field, and that's where we'll be doing it this year. So Pike Field, Division Review, you'll see the whole division out there. It's just a great thing to see. And then after that, we're coming up on 4th of July. 28 June is our 4th of July. Has anyone done the 4th of July celebration on Bragg? Just out of curiosity, has anyone been out there? Okay, a few. So you've seen the acts we bring in. A great event. My first one was last year. We had some music, some bands. If you've heard of Flo Rida, he was our main act out there last year. And I never really listened to Flo Rida. A few songs on the radio, and I had it on my music running app for some songs, through the years. But, last year he came in and was awesome. I mean, it was a great event. I think we brought about 70,000 people in for that. And then we ended with the fireworks, big fireworks show will happen at the end of that. So we're doing the same thing again this year, and we're expecting another 70,000 at least people. So, if you don't have plans for the weekend before the 4th of July, that's when we're doing it. It's going to be a great event. The main acts are Parmalee is the country act. They'll be the first. Has anyone heard of Parmalee in the room?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. I did listen to their music on my music app. We have Neon Trees coming in, which will be the second act. Anyone heard of Neon Trees? They're actually pretty good. I downloaded listening to them. And then our final act this year is Ludacris will be our main act. So big name coming in. So, fortunately, in my position, I get to meet these guys in the green room before me and the general walk in and meet them, and get to shake hands with Ludacris and then watch his performance. But it's going to be good. I think he's going to be I don't know if it'll be better or not. I think he's got a pretty good show. He did a show at Fort Campbell, I think last year or year before, and they said it was awesome. So if you can make it, please be there. It'll be a good event. Outside of that, and I won't take too much of your time, I'll just talk about some of the things on Fort Bragg we're working. So, you know, we just developed our installation strategy. We renewed that in our 5-year campaign plan on the base. So we have a lot of objectives we're going after, 17 total objectives. You know, when you look at a strategy campaign plan on paper, it's just this beautiful document, all this executive level speak in it, but to make that thing happen, we're in the process of really going after some targets called, you know, in our terms, operations, activities, and investments. So as we do that, we'll build up through time, and we'll have a good, solid 5-year plan, you know, starting next year and beyond. We'll be doing a lot of things on Fort Bragg in a very organized fashion, to say the least. So next May, we'll present to the General Officer Steering Committee some of those objectives out in the future. And the reason I tell you that is because when we look around, you know, not only on base, if you're familiar with the things we do on base, we're always in this facilities investment planning, like we're about to go back in that season again, where we'll start talking about infrastructure programming, things we need on the base, you know, child development centers, more housing. I'm just going this motor pools. We've got units coming in, Army restructures happening. We've got more people coming in. We'll have about 600 soldiers coming in and roughly 900 family members by October 27, which will up our already large population. So the campaign plan is super important. But when we look outside of our borders, you know, we need more housing. We need more housing. We've got 6,100 homes on base and 432 apartments, and that's still not enough. So we always look to get more housing. I know on our north side, there's some things in the works up in the Harnett County area, I think in the future in terms of housing. But those are some of the things we're really going after. You know, I was talking to Rick Long. If you don't know Rick Long, he works in Secretary Millette's office. Rick, please raise your hand. You know, I was in a meeting with Rick a while back, and we talked defense critical infrastructure projects. That's funding that's out there that Camp Lejeune has been really successful in getting. And what that means is, I need it on Fort Bragg. But the way DSIPS works is I work through the state, and that's federal funding that we work, you know, with the state to get into Fort Bragg or into our outer community. Meaning I work with you, the community, like, you know, the city manager's office. We say, hey, here's a community-based project we need. I'll just make it, we need an aquatic center, for example, and I'm just thinking towards Rayford. You see the nice, beautiful aquatic center out there. If I needed something like that, I could do a community partnership and we could try to get some of this DSIPS money to help build something like that. So some really good projects, some really good opportunities coming. We'll know more about that here really soon. We're going to roll out, like I said, next May our big targets for that. So we'll definitely be working with the community to get some of your involvement in these things, get this project shovel ready. Final thing I'll say is, as a really, really good example of that, is Striker Golf Course. You know, we've got Ryder Golf Course, we've got Striker Golf Course. As most of you remember last year, we hoped to get a high school there, but I think that's off the table. So we're looking at other ideas for that. You know, do we make enough money on Striker to keep that open? Yeah, we break even. We make a little more than breaking even, but is it worth the value we put into it going forward? You know, what we're getting out of it. So there's options on the table that my team is presenting up to the General Officer Steering Committee on how can we repurpose Striker Golf Course. You know, do we keep it there and keep status quo, or do we make it this community center, you know, where not only Fort Bragg residents can come enjoy this kind of place, but also the community. So, you know, if that comes to fruition, if I gain acceptance on that as a course of action, you know, we're looking 2027, 2028, you know, what kind of things can we partner with the community there at Striker? So just a real world example right in front of me that we're hoping to get to down the road. So outside of that, like I said earlier, we have a lot of stuff going, and the last thing I'll say, I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but we have the gala coming up on June 18th. Has everybody heard of the gala? The 250th Army birthday is coming up. I know they're going to do a big event up in DC, but we're going to do our big event here at the Iron Mike Conference Center on June 18th. Ticket price for the civilians is $80. On your, next to your, on your tables, you've got the thing, you can hit the QR code and it'll tell you all about it, and we hope to see you there. But it should be a really big, great event. I think we can seat up to about 5, Jen, is it 550 we're seating on it?
I think it's 750, sir.
750 people, so it'll be a big event. All the military people will be wearing, obviously, our dress uniforms, and I think it's black tie for everyone else. So I think General Pappas is our force comm commander, will be the guest speaker for that. So he's always a great speaker. So it'll be a fun night. So I hope to see you all out there. Outside of that, thanks for having me.
Wait, just,
Okay.
they're fixing to celebrate their 250 years, and I want to thank him for all the people in the military. And actually, this area is one of the center of the universe.
Center of the universe.
Let's give him a hand.
Center of the universe.
I appreciate what you do.
Since you said it, last thing I'll tell you is we're working a lot of road construction out there, and we're trying to find, out on the western side of the base right now, and we're going to close down Manchester Road soon, by the way, about 1 June, maybe a little bit after, and so Moore County travelers will be detoured. But if I can find a good place in this road construction, like a bridge, I'm gonna try to leave here with the center of the, welcome to the center of the universe as you come to Fort Bragg. So remember when you see that, it was this guy right here.
United Way of Cumberland County.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, I'm Scott Ember, Executive Director at the United Way of Cumberland County. Thank you for opportunity to give you an update on really an awesome project the United Way is working on. We're lucky to have a United Way that's here in Cumberland County that has 86 years of history. And last year we touched about 1 in every 2 people the United Way does in one way or another, which is awesome. But I am telling you, what we're working on here that I'm going to give you an update is something entirely new and different, and it's community driven, and I'm excited to share it with you. So today I'm introducing to you, if you haven't seen it, some of you have been privy to this, the Cumberland County Literacy Council. Cumberland County, with nearly 400,000 residents, did not have a literacy council this time last year. So it is something that we started as a conversation around the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which we are lucky enough to manage that for Cumberland County. And we mail out almost 10,000 books a month to children ages 0 to 5, delivered to their house in their name every single month. It's awesome. We're excited to have the community join us in this effort. I want you to look at the names on this screen here of what true partnership looks like. And at the United Way, we always talk about living united, but most people don't know what that means. But today, I think what you're going to recognize is this is what living united looks like as we approach and conquer one of the biggest challenges in our community, and quite honestly in the communities around the state. It all started with the Imagination Library launch, partnership launch with Cape Fear Valley in July. For the first time in our history, every child born at Cape Fear Valley goes home with their first Dolly book, The Little Engine That Could, and access to the program. And then an act of God happened. And Womack came on board with the same partnership in November. We are the only county in North Carolina covering 100% of the children born here get a book and access to the program. As you can imagine, at $35 a kid to sponsor that, we're growing. So we need to continue to work to build out these literacy projects. And I was bragging about this to some city officials. And they said, so every kid gets the Dolly Parton program? And I said, no, unfortunately that's not the case. Every kid gets a book and access to the program, but 10,000 books is not enough. For a community our size that is delivering 450 children on average every month, our metric should be better than 10,000 books a month. And so we talked about why. And the why is because we have segments of our population, just like every other population, that just aren't strong readers. They're not reading in their house. I was really sad the day I learned that there's a large segment of our children that don't even own a book. But we can do something about it today. With your help, we can get it done. The first initiative of the first edition of the Cumberland County Literacy Council launched in March. So we started talking about this in November. The first one formalized in March, and the local libraries have been so good. Faith, thank you. We've had a lot of good people stand this up, but now every of our 4 major libraries, once a month, they have a Dolly Parton Imagination Library story time. For those 5th Saturdays of the month, our Partnership for Children here locally have picked those up, where kids get to come in and get a story time. They get to take the book home with them. And we are seeing a really grassroots effort. We have parents that have gone from the first one and haven't missed one. And they said, what do we get? So we got some nice Dolly Parton pins, and we give parents now that stick it in there, because it is life-changing for our community. If you think about the impact over a lifetime of when we get more words into children earlier and get a desire to read and a love of literacy, man, we're a better, stronger community in the next generation than we are today. And that's what we're fighting for. But the one thing that about the story time is we're limited by capacity. Our library staff is awesome, and I am telling you, as a grown adult with no small children left, I've been going to these story times, and I am amazed at how they grab my attention, as well as these children, and the families have to come. So it's not just reading to kids, it's educating the families on what does it look like to get your kids excited about literacy. So it is really cool. We're excited about that. So to build out capacity, what we understand is that we have to have literacy ambassadors. And we are probably, there has been a lot of work, let me tell you, behind the scenes, standing up. How are you going to manage volunteers? What type of credentials, background checks, reading training? What does all that look like to be a literacy ambassador so they can serve in any capacity across our community? But we are just about ready to launch. In the next month, there will be press releases coming out, and we'll be accepting our first round of literacy ambassadors, and then we're excited to put them to work and report on the number of hours we're volunteering in these areas. The school system has been so good to set some baseline test scores right now. As kids are coming into pre-K, show us where we are today and let us improve it. You know, we don't only want to do the work, we want the results at the end of the day, and the Literacy County is fixated on that. This is what's happening right now. This is what you'll be hearing about real soon. The Literacy County, we have a new website we're working on. That website will be a schedule of all literacy events in our community. So a lot of literacy events are happening, but they're not all living in one area. They're hard. You got to know where to go and where to get them. We're going to take care of that. We're building out a very good family reading resource library for families to take what they learn at story time and go repeat that at their house. The literacy registration will be housed on this website. As far as all of our volunteer opportunities will run through there, where people can sign up, they're vetted, we know they're good, they're all credentialed, ready to go. We'll be able, because of the United Way, today the United Way, it's granting season. We've got hundreds of organizations asking for money and telling us what they want us to fund. Well, the Literacy Council will start receiving all of those ideas across this entire community of what literacy projects need to be done, and we will be able to supply them with some resource and, most importantly, quality volunteers that can carry the mission forward. So, you know, what I'm asking for you guys is to get with us. A lot of you have already said it on paper. You've made declarations. Gave us wonderful letters of support. You're opening a lot of doors. But you know what I would say is we need you fully engaged, and by that means, you know, tell somebody about it. Find a way to donate. Make sure it's important to you, both in what you say and what you do. And I promise we'll be very impressed with what that looks like a year from now. You can stay up with us on all our social media, stay abreast of it. Any questions? Okay, very good. How many's excited about literacy? How many believes that in Cumberland County that literacy rates are too low and poverty rates are too high? How many believe that in here? I'm going to talk to anybody that don't raise your hand right now because you haven't read your stats. They are, it is a true statement, and you know what? They all tie back to literacy. If you want a better future, we build better readers. And I believe that wholeheartedly, and the United Way is pursuing it with all of our vigor. Everything we got, we're putting behind it, and we want you guys to join us in this. Thank you.
Have you considered reaching out to the daycares?
We have considered everything at this point in time. There has not been any stone we have not turned over. I promise you, since November, I have learned more about literacy than I ever had any ambition of learning about literacy. Yes, it's a great idea. We're also looking at junior ambassadors from our school systems that are strong readers that can emulate that within the school system. We reach out to lots of nonprofit organizations that would like to bring story time to the botanical gardens and let kids get outside and read books. And we talked to the Arts Council for doing some of the same things. Can we read books around art? So there is so many options and so many opportunities. We're not going to run out of ideas. We just have to have people ready to execute. That's our mission today. All right. Well, thank you again so much for allowing me to give you a brief update on this. The press releases will be coming within the next month. It will be fully stood up, launched, and we'll be rolling. And we appreciate any support you guys can give us in spreading the word. When you get those press releases, you got more clout than I have. Send that out to your media partners and be sure that everybody is speaking the same language, because the unity of this program is what is going to carry us forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Green.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Good. Well, it's not afternoon, it's morning. I'm kind of starting my Friday early. I will say my kiddo had the Dolly Parton library books until he was age 5 and got them sent to our house. And it was a sad day when he turned 5 and we got our last book, and then he went to kindergarten. So thank you. We really appreciate that. So today, it's been a while since I've been in front of you all, but today we're here to talk a little bit about our Joint Food Policy Council. And Dr. Clifton Johnson is here with me, if you wouldn't mind coming up. He is the co-chair of our joint Fort Bragg Food Policy, Cumberland County Food Policy Council. So we won't be before you too long, but we wanted to provide an update for you on the activities of the council, and I'm going to ask Dr. Johnson to tag team with me just a little bit here, and then we'll open it up for your questions and your feedback. So we're going to just talk a little bit about how the council got started, some of the achievements. We're going to give you a little bit of data. Y'all know that I'm a data person. And then we're going to talk a little bit about some legislation that we're monitoring, keeping an eye on, and then get some feedback from you, some ideas that the council has, and then things that you would like us to do or see, or things that how the council can help support. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Johnson to kick us off and tell you a little bit about how the council got started. And I will say this is to our knowledge, and nobody has corrected us, the first county military installation food policy council in the country. There's a lot of different food policy councils that exist around the country, but we think this is the first one that is a collaboration with a military installation. It really speaks to the uniqueness of our community. So we're excited to have that, and I'm going to give the mic to Dr. Johnson.
Good morning, and as Dr. Green said, like I said, we really appreciate y'all giving us an opportunity to come with y'all and speak and kind of provide some information on how we are working in a joint with Fort Bragg and with Cumberland County in regards to addressing food insecurity and food issues that we're having within our community. As set up here, it was established. We do have a 15-member council, and we're always sending out information and asking people in the community to come on board and actually become a member of it. We've actually worked with the community. We're able to hire an individual, works in your facility for our WIC program. Prior to that, Dr. Green came in. Prior to me coming on board, when I did, she was actually working on that program, so y'all actually have that right now. And we do conduct food assessments. And here's some of, like I said before, some of the achievements we've already done, which is the actual outreach program to the Fort Bragg. And we've done food drop zones. And this program, what we do is we sit down and we actually have issues. We bring food to the community. People can come and pick up food. We do food boxes, and it was really, really well. It happened last year, and we do plan to continue that within the community. We've actually had some transportation committees we supported, which is on the economic development, which update y'all had earlier. We actually sit in on the transportation committees updates to kind of talk with those committees and let them know how we can assist when it comes to any type of food information that's going out there. And we do the resources to the public community. You want to take the next one? And we're going to bring Dr. Green back up, so she can come and give y'all some of the data.
All right, so a lot of work that the council has done. The aim of the council is really to think about what are the broad issues of food insecurity in our community, and then how can the council help support either on policy initiatives or getting information out, information sharing. And so again, really making sure that they were instrumental in helping us to bring our WIC office to Fort Bragg. We're open. We have 4 WIC locations in the county. One on Ramsey Street, Hope Mills. We're in Spring Lake 2 days. We're Spring Lake 3 days a week, and then we flip-flop that team, and we are in on Fort Liberty twice a week, and we've gotten lots of national recognition for that. And then I'll note here, as a part of that project, we also established one of the because of our success in bringing WIC to Fort Bragg, established a WIC Food Policy Council for all of our military installations. And so we have over 50 military installations that gather monthly, and we get to share best practices about establishing a WIC office on a military installation. And that has really grown to addressing food insecurity in general on our military families. And so that started right here in our community. I think we have 50 military installations and 2 international installations that really gather monthly, and we get to share all the great work that we've done in Cumberland County and give that to other installations so that they can replicate what we're doing. So a little bit on the data. This data is from USDA. We map food insecurity. And so this is a Cumberland County. We have about 22% of our families of our children that are food insecure in our community. That's too many. And so one of the aims of the Food Policy Council is to think about how can we get that number down? What are the strategies, what are the policies that we can implement to make sure that our families have enough food when they go to bed at night? Whether that is through SNAP benefits or WIC benefits, food drop boxes, making sure that we have grocery stores in our community, making sure that we are supporting community gardens. All of those things are really important, all those multi-different strategies to making sure that those numbers come down. About 3/4 of our Cumberland County students are eligible for free and reduced lunch. And so that really speaks to the need in our community. This is a map that we get often asked about. People always tell us, yes, but what about my neighborhood, right? What about what's going on in my community? So this is a map of the county, and we can map out where we have food deserts in our community. And so this is a term that we often use for communities that have, when we think about food deserts, we think about 2 things: access to food and then transportation. So most people are not going to walk comfortably more than a mile in urban areas or more than 10 miles to a grocery store. And if you have grocery stores that are further away from you and you don't have vehicle access, and it's a low income area, we identify that as a food desert. And so on the map you have in green and in orange areas of our community that we consider food deserts. And you can see that there's a significant number of those census tracts that are considered to be food deserts, and that's concerning to us. So we want to see those numbers shift, and we want to see fewer of our communities be food deserts, and that means access to healthy foods in our community. So one of the things we look at is food insecurity in the military. We often think about our military families as they have an income, they get housing, they get all of these different benefits, but we also know that there's a significant number of our military families that are food insecure. We worked with UNC Cancer Center and Fort Lip and your folks over at Public Health to do a food assessment a few years ago, including our community health assessment. And that survey indicated about 31% of our Fort Bragg soldiers were reported having trouble accessing food. And so that is a significant number, and one of the driving forces for us to bring our WIC office to Fort Bragg. And so we are working to make sure those numbers come down and really coordinating with the team over at Public Health. One of the things that the Food Policy Council does is also to monitor legislation at the federal and state level. So a couple of things that we're watching just for your situational awareness. There's been some recent cuts to some USDA grants, and one of these has directly impacted our community. There's an article a few weeks ago in the newspaper about the local Food for Schools cooperative agreement. That money brings food, it's a connection between our farmers and our local farmers and our school system. They lost a $200,000 grant. And that grant really was going to expand access to healthy foods in our community. Our kids are still getting to eat breakfast, but that grant really helped to get healthy food options into our classrooms and help them to learn about fruits and vegetables, which we know is really important. And so we are monitoring that. One of our school system staff members is on our Food Policy Council and really keeps us up to date there. They are looking at some some state legislation that will actually allow them to expand the number of schools that get free and reduced lunch. So currently 70 of our high schools or our elementary schools get free and reduced lunch. If they get some of this new legislation that's coming down in the governor's budget, that would actually allow them to have all 75, all but 9 schools have free and reduced lunch and breakfast at their schools. And so that would only leave 9 schools that did not have that. So that's really important. The other thing that we're watching at the federal level is our WIC and our SNAP benefits. We want to make sure we're continuing to invest in those programs. There's some current legislation about changing the eligibility requirements for SNAP. We want to make sure that everybody that's eligible for SNAP can be able to receive those benefits. And then there's a couple bills in the House that are some of our local delegation, I don't see any of them in the room today, are supporting that would make meals for free and a universal lunch available to everybody year round. So that's really critical to making sure we get those numbers down that we looked at. So some of the things that we're looking at in just a couple of months that the council's going to be working on is to update our food system assessment. We did that, as Dr. Johnson mentioned at the top, with a grant from the Aetna Foundation. We want to make sure that we're updating that food system assessment. It's a little bit outdated. It was COVID time, so 2021. And we did some on-the-ground work out in communities to understand food insecurity. We're always looking for grants, and so our ask today is not about money, but our ask today is about how can we support you all. And then we want to make sure that we're expanding awareness around food resources. So I'm going to pause there and get some feedback from you all if you have any questions for me, or are there things that the council can help support or bring awareness to. Our Food Policy Council meets every Monday, so the first Monday of the month at 6 p.m. The meetings are hybrid. Martina Sconiers-Cobbert is in the room. She's in the lovely patterned blazer there. And so she's our point of contact if you all have questions, or of course you can always reach out to me if you all have questions. But are there ways that we can help support you in your communities, things that you're looking for the council to do? Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to point out that, say Representative Diane.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I saw you as soon as I said, I know, as soon as I said it. Well, and I should say that the sponsors on that bill are Representative Colvin and Jackson. So I did see you, I'm sorry, I saw you in the corner of my eye, so apologies there. Any questions or ways that we can? Yes.
How much concern do you have about all the vapor shops going around and kids involved with them?
A lot of concern. So we have a regional tobacco coordinator that we still have, thankfully. There's been some funding cuts at the CDC level, but we still have that person intact. But that person is really responsible for our region to help think about policy. We see a vape shop pop up, it feels like every day. And so there are some local ordinances in place to help with that. But also we are working with Fort Bragg to do some education, both on the installation. We have some Juul settlement dollars that are helping, that we are able to hire a health educator and do some education for our youth. And then we also do a lot of outreach events. But if there's some things that we can do to help support, we want to do that. There's some challenges, I think, because of downzoning that is limiting our ability to implement local ordinances around big shops. Some of those things around downzoning restricts what we can do to implement ordinances and zoning laws around vape shops and preventing those additional vape shops to pop up. So, but we're keeping an eye on it. Let's see, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we did an assessment. We mapped out all the vape shops, especially those that were close to schools. And we see the numbers continuing to grow, but the county has an ordinance that's preventing them from being near schools, but that doesn't prevent them in other areas that are not close to schools. And I saw another hand.
Dr. Green,
Yes.
Fred Williams, Eastover, and I apologize that my eyes are getting a little bad, but you were talking about the food desert.
Yes.
Could you just name a few of those locations specifically for me? Is Eastover have any portion in the food desert?
So on this, and we will send the map out to you. If you look at the map, it's almost all of the county. There's very few pockets that are not considered a food desert. So yes, there are some in Eastover as well. So part of this is about, and what the Food Policy Council is looking at and why we also are concerned about the transportation part is even if you don't have a grocery store in your area, we want to make sure that you have vehicle access to get to that. So it's about grocery stores, it's about poverty levels, it's about and vehicle access. Those are the three things that contribute to a food desert. And we want to make sure that in Eastover, you all have fewer, especially larger grocery stores in your area. And so a lot of Eastover is considered a food desert. So those are things that we want to make sure that the Food Policy Council is contributing to. So if you've got thoughts or ideas, we'd love to hear about it. Yes, sir.
Dr. Green, you had a slide up here about 31% of military and family members. What are some of the reasons why that's 31%? In my view, that's high, that's a third.
Mm-hmm. I'll start and I'm going to kick it over to Dr. Johnson. So a couple of things that the Military Family Advisory Network has done a lot of research on that. So family size, it takes at all income levels or all ranks. So if I think about it from the WIC perspective, if you are an E5 and you have 3 or 4 kids, you're going to be eligible for WIC. When people PCS and their spouse loses a job, that often is a driver of people into food insecurity because you have that spouse turnover. If you have a lack of child care, that drives people into food insecurity. You PCS, you have a lack of child care at the new place, we're having a shift in our income levels, we lose that earning potential for the military spouse, that can drive people into food insecurity as well. So there's a lot of factors that go into for our military families, and I'll let Dr. Johnson, he's former military retired, and is our Fort Bragg representative.
So how you doing? So another reason, as Dr. Green stated, when we did this assessment, you also have your soldiers that are actually answering on these assessments. And another thing which actually drives that 31% is actually training. And it's just meaning that a lot of soldiers, when they actually go into training, when they do not eat and they fill out these surveys, they're not putting in what's called a food voucher. So when soldiers go out, they train, and when you're doing train, yes, they're required to have their 3 meals a day, but when we're training, we're training. And so when the soldiers come back and they fill out some of these, hey, we weren't able to eat, we don't have the money, but they don't go to their command and fill out the vouchers. And when I was in the military before, when I came on this, we did a survey lot of soldiers wasn't even aware. It's like it's an educational thing that, hey, you can go full, you can go put these vouchers in. And I spoke with some of the first sergeants back then, and now I'm retired, so I don't have that access anymore. And so I'll probably just reach out to your unit to see if maybe I'll have a representative that can maybe come on board and kind of help us out. And another reason is, like you were saying, when you PCS, so like I'm a Fort Campbell baby. Then when I PCS up to Houston, and then as you gain rank, you got to go to the lovely DC once you come to field grade. And the cost of living is completely different. And like I said, your spouse loses income, and then when you go over to that new base, yes, we might get money like a VH, but the VH has not really. They need to do another assessment, because when a lot of the soldiers PCS in new areas, the VH does not account for inflation. And so now your spouse has lost a job, and now you're there, and you're the single source of income, and a lot of the food insecurity come from just economic changes. And we're working to provide that information to the military. And at this point, as we continue to work, I think what's going to happen in the future is, as we put out this education, the soldiers start to get that money in place, and then also will help with the spouses and with the WIC. We'll be able to maybe eventually get that number. Right now it's 30%. We want to try to get it to go down, versus we do this assessment and then we come back here next year. We don't want it to be 31%. So if it goes to 32%, we don't want that. We want it to drop. So it's more getting that out there. And like I said, whatever y'all can do in y'all community, we're going to continue to be here for help, and any information that y'all have or anything else we can do, we'll continue to be there for your family and for the community. Any other questions for myself or Dr. Green?
All right. Thank you. So we'll send you out a couple of things. I'll send you the Military Family Advisory Network information. I think that kind of speaks to how military families get into food insecurity. We'll send out the census tract maps kind of zoomed in so you can see it a little bit better, and the exact areas in the community. And again, if you all have any things that we can help support, we're happy to do that. You can reach out to Martina or myself, and we will certainly bring that forth to the council. So we thank you. Yes.
Dr. Mary, make sure that you send that information over to Carl next week.
Yes, we meet weekly with your team. So it's probably going on in about an hour. We have Fort Bragg Public Health Partnership, and that team works on vaping, food insecurity, some things around cancer screenings for the installation. And so we meet regularly with them to make sure we're singing the same song on some of these bigger projects of the community. So and your team is really a really good partnership for us. So thank you. Thank you all.
So I'll email this stuff to you. I'll shoot you an email. Are you talking about the slide you just did? No, some of the things I said. Okay.
Joint city-county emergency presentation. Laura Smith and Gary Quinter.
Good morning, everyone. While Gary and I start talking, Amanda and China are going to be setting up a little interactive activity that we have for you guys to do today. It'll be fun and get some blood flowing. And we do know it's budget season, so sorry, that's not real money. Okay, I am Laura Smith. I started with Cumberland County in May of 2016, working as a 911 dispatcher or telecommunicator. In 2018, I was promoted and I became a training officer for 911. And in 2021, Gary took a chance on me and I moved over to and became an emergency management planner. And in March of last year, I left Gary and went over to the city of Batesville to become the EM coordinator. I have a bachelor's degree in emergency and disaster management from Western Carolina, and I'm currently enrolled at Clemson University obtaining my MPA, and we are going to count that because I have passed my comprehensive exams, which is the equivalent of a thesis or anything. So just a few more classes to go, and I'll be done.
My name is Gary Crumpler. I am the Emergency Management Coordinator / Interim Director for Emergency Services in Cumberland County. I started out my career in fire and EMS with the Volunteer Fire Department in Grays Creek whenever I was 16 years old, and continued to progress through my career. I was a career fireman with the City of Lumberton and the town of Chapel Hill. I got homesick and wanted to come back to Cumberland County. So Gene, again, we were about to take chances. He took a chance on me, and I was promoted. Helped Dr. Green through COVID is where I really cut my teeth at, and I have a bachelor's degree in fire protection technology from Purdue University, and I am a certified emergency manager through the IAEM, International Association of Emergency Managers.
So, I don't know if I talked loud enough for everyone. So what we wanted to do today was define what emergency management is. Talk about the concept and scope of the things that we do, identify common goals and objectives of our programs, explain laws and statutes that are relevant to emergency management, and describe what your responsibilities are as elected officials during emergencies. Summarize the executive order achieving efficiency through state and local preparedness, and we're going to participate in an interactive activity.
So before we get started with the interactive activity, yes, you are going to have to get up. Sorry. I want to introduce my staff back here as well, China Galt and Amanda Sheck. So I'm sure you've received emails from them or will be in the future on different projects. So we're going to go through this little exercise, and it's about identifying hazards within our community. Everybody knows that during a disaster, it has a cost associated with it. And depending on the size and scope, depends on how much money you have to throw at it, and then initially, and then the federal government reimburses you. So we handed out some monopoly money, and then we put some cups up here. All of these cups have natural hazards, technological hazards on them. So what we want you to do is come by, read the cups, identify in your mind what you think is the greatest hazard to our community. Now we do this process on a greater scope. It's called a THIRA, Threats and Hazards Analysis and Assessment. We do that every 6 years. Yeah, every 6 years. And we do that with a wide scope of community partners and agencies throughout our community. So we're asking you as our public officials to go by, read these cups, and put your money in. Now you only have a limited amount of money, just like in real life. So most bang for the buck. So we have inland flooding, hurricane, hazmat, earthquake, wildfire, tornado, severe thunderstorm, which we got alert about last night, extreme heat, cybersecurity, severe winter weather, drought, dam failure, pandemic, and terrorism. So take that all in, and once you do that, my staff is going to gather the cups, count the money, and we'll let you know how the assessment came at the end of the presentation. Yes, sir.
Probably why. That's exactly why.
Sure. Thank you. I'm used to it. We're my municipalities, we need some money.
Yes, I did make a copy of that. That's okay. I'll just go ahead and put it on there.
We generally don't.
Alright, I'm done.
Damn thing. Being unfortunate, I got a big dam in hotels, you know where I'm putting it. Yeah, you can put
You never know, right?
I'm gonna speak to you. Hey, how's it going? I'm Brad, you there? I'm told this I didn't know. My home channel, man, that's much to me. And I realize you got that. No, I'm just. I was halfway through basic. And the student took the import team because you will never see it again. Now, we had already qualified. And now we turn around and qualify them. M16.
Oh yeah, because M16s were new. I think
They were brand new. And then
Everyone got all the money situated.
they flew me to
I
artillery.
heard a lot of talk about earthquakes.
And the gas rate.
We do have a fault line that runs through North Carolina, and the way South Carolina acts up
2
on
days travel for 5 days off.
it's possible.
Port to California, and a week later I was in Nashville. Don't talk about something. I'd love to hear a story. Enjoy that, boy.
Okay, so let's define a disaster in a community. A lot of people call on Gary and I when hurricanes come, but a disaster is not just limited to weather events. It's anything that causes significant disruption to your day-to-day. That includes what Gary was talking about with COVID, public health emergencies, hazardous material spills, and anything dealing with infrastructure or terrorism. And as you know, with Fort Bragg here, the largest installation in the country, terrorism is a threat for Cumberland County. So what we do is we plan and train for a wide range of disasters to ensure resilience and preparedness across the city and City of Fayetteville and Cumberland County as a whole. So there are 4 phases that we work through. Mitigation is the reduction of risk and preventing disasters before they happen. Preparedness is the planning and training and the equipping of responders as a disaster is transpiring. Response is the immediate actions to protect lives and property, and recovery is restoring the community and infrastructure post-disaster. And if there's anything that Hurricanes Matthew and Florence and Helene have taught us is that North Carolina is a resilient state. We are strong, we are self-sufficient, and we will continue to be so, hopefully. All right, so our key goals and objectives are to minimize impact on people and property. Our goal is to get back to normal as soon as possible. No one likes to have their normalcy disrupted. We want to ensure effective coordination and communication. That's between the community and our responders, our elected officials, everyone. We adapt what's called a whole community approach. Everyone is involved. We want to provide timely and efficient disaster response and support community resilience and long-term recovery.
So as we dive into this presentation, we want to talk about some laws that impact emergency management. The most prominent one is General Statute 166A, and that lays out the emergency management statute for the state, and it outlines the authorities that counties, municipalities have under emergency. The next one that you're probably very familiar with is the Robert T. Stafford Act, and that is your funding stream for your PA reimbursements, how you help your citizens post-disaster, especially if they're uninsured. And then the Disaster Mitigation Act of 2000. So this is probably the partial to 166A. It's probably the most important federal legislation on this slide, and that's because it's directly related to grants. So all your building resilient infrastructure community grants is directly related to this, and it's because we have to have a hazard mitigation plan done every 5 years. Matter of fact, we're approaching ours, and what that says is you as a community, as a whole community, have to identify hazards within your community. Then you have to identify actions to help tackle or mitigate those hazards. So if you apply for a, let's say, a water infrastructure grant, and it's not listed in the hazard mitigation plan, and you can cite that to FEMA, then you're not getting that grant. So the hazard mitigation plan, we do it regionally. It's a Hope Cumberland Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan, and the reason why we do that, or the state does that, is to kind of save money. Most of the plans across the state are grouped like that at a regional approach. So the Emergency Planning Community Right to Know Act, which is EPCRA, designates the LEPC. I know you've probably heard of that, which essentially says that these industries that are within our county have to identify the chemicals that they're producing at their facilities. Now, I want to point something out, that Chemours is not in our LEPC. They technically fall within the Bladen County LEPC, so we don't receive the information on the chemicals and the products that they produce. The Price-Anderson Act, everybody thinks that the Robert T. Stafford Act covers all emergencies. It does not. The Price-Anderson Act covers nuclear-related emergencies. So we have Sharon Harris. We're an IPZ county, which means that if something happens at Sharon Harris, then we're working with Dr. Green and her team to identify nuclear sources within our food supply. Within it, we're working with Cooperative Extension to help farmers identify which portions of their livestock are impacted by contamination. Then we have Cumberland County Code of Ordinances, and then the ordinances for each of your prospective jurisdictions. So high-level overview of what 166A says, that the county has to coordinate emergency management activities. So whether that be talking with our elected officials, communicating and coordinating back and forth with Laura, that outlines that. And then the establishment of a local emergency management agency. We have, our emergency management agency falls within the Emergency Services Department for the county. It's myself and my two staff back there, as well as the Fire Marshal's Office and Emergency Telecommunications. We are not Caper Valley EMS, so I just want to throw that out there. And then we have the responsibility to declare a state of emergency, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. So again, we have that responsibility to coordinate with other jurisdictions within our community, all the towns, the municipalities. And then your responsibility as municipalities align a lot with the county responsibilities. You have the ability to establish an emergency management agency if you would like to. The city of Fayetteville has chosen to do so. In the town of Hope Mills, they have staff dedicated to emergency management as well. And I believe we work closely with the town of Spring Lake, with the fire chief and the police chief, in kind of that similar style relationship. And then you have to coordinate with county and state agencies, and then you have that ability to declare a state of emergency if you would like to. So I'm just going to throw these questions out there. When should your jurisdiction declare a state of emergency? Anybody?
In advance of a disaster, to ensure that we're prepared to receive the resources, just at state and national level.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Okay. What powers does a state of emergency give you as elected officials? And we'll talk about this here in a second.
I think this is a small municipality, we rely on our fire department.
Yes, sir.
Because we are small.
Anybody else? And do you know your board's process for declaring a state of emergency? The way that Cumberland County has to declare is vastly different from the way that city in the town of Hope Mills or Godwin does it.
I think our mayor just, does a proclamation or something.
And that's the case, I think, in most of our jurisdictions here in Cumberland County. So, again, the North Carolina Emergency Management Act 166A gives you that authority, the cities, towns, municipalities, to declare a state of emergency. What they cite in here is severe damage, injury, loss of life, property resulting in a variety of natural man-made disasters or technological disasters. They did add the COVID-19 pandemic to that after that. A lot of our laws got changed after that. So what does a state of emergency allow you to do as elected officials? It allows you to impose curfews, evacuations, restrict movement to certain places or operations, again, which happened during COVID, and the control of alcohol and dangerous weapons, which means pretty much the sale. You can't go and take somebody's weapons from them. I have evacuation in starred or with an asterisk, and that is because you can issue a mandatory evacuation, but you really have no way to enforce it besides a fine. All right. So there was a 2020 update to North Carolina General Statute, and the most important thing on that slide is you have to send your state of emergency to your local emergency management office. And we have to upload it within the state WebEOC system, which is our incident management platform. If you do not send us your state of emergency and we do not get it uploaded, then your state of emergency is not active. Yes, sir. So we had during the last Tropical Storm Debbie, we had a meeting with you all, and we had 100% compliance on that. And then the other part is, if your jurisdiction has a website, it has to be posted on the main page of the website, and it has to be clearly visible to all your citizens. Another thing that, yes, sir.
That's a question. Back slide. I saw that update when that came out, as far as posting it to the actual website. So do y'all have the secondary option if the ability to post the website goes down? 2 weeks ago, we talked about power. Nobody had power access to the internet. Do y'all have another way they can post that and get it to y'all and still be able to declare emergency if they don't have access to the internet service?
Most of the time we receive the state of emergencies through email. If they don't have access to their website, we always post it on our website. We have the ability to post it on social media. And then our biggest advocate is probably alternate means of communication, like the radio. We work with, I have a close relationship with Gilbert Bays, so he gets it over the radio waves, as well as our local TV providers. I mean, trust me, they call us.
Okay,
So
that's what I was waiting, so you said they can call.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another responsibility of the county is to maintain the the County Emergency Operations Center, which is located at 500 Executive Place. It opened about 4 years ago now. And this is where all the coordination from the county level happens. This is where we discuss what additional assets do we need to bring into our community to help our citizens endure through the emergency. So everything from swiftwater rescue teams, high clearance vehicles, all those resources are coordinated through the county EOC and in close relationship or close conversation with our municipalities throughout the incident. A little bit about how we work throughout an incident. It starts with you. You as elected officials, you set the policy, you set the direction, you give us the ability to be funded throughout the duration of the incident. we take our direction from you as far as setting our incident priorities. So you would be that kind of multi-agency coordination group that you see at the top. Then that trickles down to the Emergency Operations Center and then down to the scene to help the first responders. So that's kind of hard to see a little bit. This is a little bit about the incident command structure. And if you have a packet, you can reference that document. But that is the incident command structure. And that's how we operate in any incident in the EOC or out on the scene. One of the most crucial elements, especially as it pertains to this chart, is the public information aspect. You saw our public information officer, Diane Rice. She was here earlier. She is there to be a resource for you. If you're dealing with issues of rumor control, misinformation, that will hamper your operation, and you want to make sure that citizens have the most accurate information. We know in the age of social media that can be difficult. So her team, especially at the county level, they're scouring social media, looking for rumors that may be out there. And I know that the city has their prospective PIO offices that are doing the same thing as well.
So with new leadership, and prior to even new leadership, comes recent changes to emergency management, and changes are still happening, right? We don't really know what's going to be the end-all, be-all for everything. But there was an executive order on state and local preparedness signed on March 18th, 2025, and the National Resilience Guidance was actually published in August of 24, which kind of shifts responsibility a little bit, and we'll talk about that further. And what are those implications for us in emergency management? The executive order shifted disaster preparedness responsibilities from FEMA to state and local governments. It encourages state and local investments for disaster resilience. That was your money in the cups. And focuses on localized decision-making and preparedness efforts. And if I could just go back and reiterate that between Hurricanes Matthew and Florence and Helene, North Carolina is a truly resilient, self-sufficient state, and we really do hope to continue to be so. So the National Resilience Guidance that was issued in August, or published in August of 24, it was introduced as part of the executive order to enhance infrastructure, security, and risk mitigation. It shifts emphasis from all hazards, which you're used to us talking about all hazards preparedness, to a risk-informed strategy. And it encourages state and local entities to take responsibility for disasters. So some key principles I just want to touch on real quick for the resilience guidance is the whole guidance is built on 7 key principles, which is identifying and reducing risk, prioritizing well-being, ensuring equitable solutions, adapting to changing circumstances, collaboration, sustainability, and accounting for system interdependencies. So Gary and I work really well together, but if I run out of resources, I need to reach out to Gary. And I mean, that's just the flow of things, but we have a really great working relationship. So even though I left him, I still need his help, and he doesn't hold it against me at all. So what are some implications for emergency management? It provides us with increased autonomy and responsibility for state and local government. We can identify potential reduction in federal support requiring stronger local planning and investment. So we do know that there have been several federal budget cuts that affect many programs. Emphasis on localized risk assessment and infrastructure resilience to address specific community vulnerabilities. And just if I can go back and touch on what Gary was talking about with state of emergencies, you guys that don't have, you municipalities that don't have a separate emergency manager, you can, if something affects your municipality solely, you can declare a state of emergency as identified in 166A. So if there was a hazardous material spill that affected a large area, or even if we talked about the accident on 95 yesterday with a tractor trailer that shut down all of 95 for hours and traffic was backed up. If hazardous materials that get into soil and water and all of those things, if it affects your community solely and it's going to impact your day-to-day, you can declare a state of emergency without Cumberland County doing so. You don't have to wait, is what I'm saying. And that opens up a whole opportunity for additional resources and potential funding. All right, so in conclusion, we like to think of ourselves as a critical function for public safety. We operate on those 4 phases of emergency management, and we do comprehensive planning and response, and we are always training and collaborating, and I think that's part of our success, for sure. Okay, and Gary's you wanna go over the results of everything?
I just want to add 2 things while Laura's analyzing those numbers right there. BRIC funding. Did any of you get funding for BRIC grants? Okay, so if you didn't know that the BRIC program was cut, especially the projects for FY 2024 were canceled. So if you had any BRIC grants and they were under construction and that funding was already obligated, you are still eligible to continue that work, and the construction costs and the management costs will still be funded. However, if you had some projects that were due to be under construction but have not yet started, do not start those projects because you will not get the funding reimbursement for that, okay? And the other thing, while we have our garrison commander sitting here, there's a optic that because we are sitting next to Fort Bragg, that we can go directly to them and get resources. So they have this pretty fuel truck sitting there and we need fuel in Cumberland County. I just can't go to the garrison commander and say, hey, I need that fuel truck, can you send it to me? There's a whole chain of command that even though we're right beside them, we have to still go up to the state has to go up to the federal, and the federal has to talk to the garrison commander to be able to get us that resource, okay? There are certain exceptions. Now, we work together on a daily basis, especially in the fire and EMS world. But there are some exceptions for terrorism-related incidents. So say something happened at Sager Stadium that is terrorism-related. We can make that request and then they can send resources directly. Outside of that, we can't go directly to the installation, okay?
Okay, so how do we rank our disasters? Hurricane was number 1. That's a pretty big one around here. Number 2, severe winter weather. That's a little bit surprising. Number 3 was drought. 4 was hazmat.
Yeah.
5, extreme heat. 6, tornado. 7, pandemic. 8, terrorism. So then it goes on to wildfire, dam failure, inland flooding, cyber, severe thunderstorm. I think I hit them all.
So thank y'all for participating. Y'all just did some work for us as a part of our power assessment, whether you know or not. We're going to use this. But again, we've enjoyed being here and being able to present. And if you have any questions, we'll be glad to take them.
I think we all agree that hurricanes and the flooding that comes afterwards is more related to what we have. We absolutely have.
In our county tower, it ranks, I think hurricane, active assailant type incident, hazardous materials, and then cybersecurity against data. So anything that may impact critical systems like water or 911 centers, stuff like that is ranked high up there. So it's interesting to see the difference.
Right. Well, we thank you very much for your time. We hope you understand a little bit more about what it is that we actually do. And like Gary said, if you have any questions, just reach out. Thank you.
The Regional Land Use Advisory Committee. Mr. Hanson.
Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Vaughn Hanson. I'm with the Fort Bragg Regional Land Use Advisory Commission. Just a little bit about our organization. The organization began in 1991. It was an outgrowth of the 1991 Joint Land Use Study. There are recommendations in there regarding interlocal cooperation between the local governments in the region and Fort Bragg at that time and Pope Air Force Base. There was a little bit of a hiatus in the late 1990s. It reemerged as an organization focused on preparing a new joint land use study that was completed in 2003. After that, it was formally established as a local government interlocal cooperation organization, as a statutory organization. So there were signatories to an interlocal cooperation agreement that established it formally. Most of those members are still members today, and additional members were added over time. In 2020, a new strategic plan was adopted following completion of the 2018 Joint Land Use Study that essentially modernized the governance of the organization and reestablished the mission, reaffirmed it. That mission being, number one, promoting compatible growth around Fort Bragg, fostering communication between local governments and the installation, educating the community about issues affecting Fort Bragg, preparing statutory land use case reviews on behalf of the installation, and providing technical assistance to our member local governments and other partner organizations in the region. Our membership structure today, we have 7 counties and 15 municipalities that are signatories still participating in the Fort Bragg Regional Land Use Advisory Commission, in addition to the Fort Bragg Garrison and a wide range of partner organizations, not all of whom are mentioned here, but they represent a broad range of interests. Entities like the Division of Military and Veterans Affairs, the Department of Agriculture, Nature Conservancy, Three Rivers Land Trust, other entities in that vein, as well as we have some individual associate members. These tend to be people who have had some association with Fort Bragg in the past but are no longer employed as a Department of Army civilian or no longer in local government or other government organizations. And essentially we focus, most of our members are located within that 5-mile area around Fort Bragg. That's where we focus the Joint Land Use Study. Our governance, here we have our current executive committee. Mayor Anthony Spring Lake is our current chair. Also Dr. Newton of the City of Fayetteville and Mark Locklear, who's the Development Services Director for Harnett County, are our current executive committee members. We have, the board is 9 members in total. There's 6 seats on that dedicated to our local government members. There's 3 seats that can be occupied by other interested members or other partner organizations. The board meets quarterly, essentially preparing for each of our quarterly general membership meetings. They recommend actions to take to our full membership for approval. And our chair basically leads our executive and nominating committees. They also appoint members to standing and select committees and appoint any ex officio members, which Fort Bragg has an ex officio member right now. Retired Major General Al Acox, an ex officio member, and we've had others over the years. Administration and Finance, again, I serve as the Executive Director. Another of my colleagues, we're contracted actually, we have a private planning firm, contracted with RULAC to provide these administrative and management services for the organization. Mid-Carolina Council of Government serves as our fiscal agent. Their finance primarily handling the books for us, doing our audits and all the bookkeeping and things of that nature, accounts payable, accounts receivable. And so we have 2 primary funding sources. We get about a quarter of our funding from our local government members. The fees are very reasonable. They vary based on the size and nature of the local government. And then we also have about 3/4 of our funding that comes through what's known as an intergovernmental support agreement between actually the Mid-Carolina Council of Governments and Fort Bragg. It basically passes through to RULAC. That helps to fund our statutory land use case reviews that we do on behalf of the installation. So those case reviews, Jim Doherty, who was the previous executive director and its founding executive director back in 2005, organized through Fort Bragg's DPW Master Planning Office an MOA to provide those required land use reviews with zoning land use decisions within 5 miles of installation. That transitioned into that intergovernmental support agreement in 2001, which has been very good. It's essentially a 10-year agreement between Mid-Carolina COG and Fort Bragg to do that. We do, again, beyond zoning changes, anything having to do with land use and development of the region, including reviewing the adoption of comprehensive plans, land use plans, changes to ordinances, essentially anything that is sent to us, we are happy to review and happy to provide commentary regarding its compatibility with Fort Bragg and the mission. We coordinate those. We have a land use committee. There's 4 of us on there now. We might be adding a 5th person soon. We coordinate those through the DPW Master Planning Branch, and as issues come up that need additional subject matter expertise from different entities on the installation, they handle coordinating that with us as well. And then we provide what, again, to emphasize, non-binding recommendations to our local government members and partners. If we find there be a compatible use issue with something that's proposed in one of your communities, we advise you of that, note what the potential impact could be to your community, to Fort Bragg, to the mission. But the local governments are still free to take any action that they see fit, as long as they consider, as required by statute, the commentary that we provide. We've been pretty busy the last few years. Last year we had almost 560 reviews done. We commented on 64 of those cases. Cases where something was deemed to be located in areas that are critical or important to protect for the Fort Bragg training mission. This year, through about a week ago, we were at 182. We're still on pace for quite another busy year here. Most of those really corresponds to the amount of development taking place in the community. So a lot of those are coming from the city of Fayetteville, Cumberland County, a little bit lesser extent to Harnett County, and then the rest of the communities contribute a smaller portion. So as we are reviewing these cases that are sent to us, we use what's called the Fort Bragg Compatible Use Rating System. It classifies all land within 5 miles of Fort Bragg. We identify issues having to do with land use compatibility, environmental compatibility, and if there is something occurring, it's either classified as being either critical to important to protect with regard to the training mission. We use it as an objective tool. We're not putting opinion into it. These are factors that exist. And we're still looking for options to be able to regularly update that to make sure that it maintains currency and relevancy to the mission. And for a number of years now, over 20 years now, the Department of Commerce, the State Department of Commerce has, on our behalf, hosted an online GIS site that's available to the public to look and see what those compatible use rating system factors are. So this is the map. This is the 2018 Joint Land Use Study. This is kind of the culmination of the compatible use rating system, and just examples of things in there. There's about 20 different factors that were considered in that. The UAS corridor that goes between McCall Army Airfield and the training areas on Fort Bragg, very important to protect. That's one of our critical areas. Aircraft access potential zones from McCall, Simmons, and Pope. Low-level flight routes on and around the installation, large caliber weapons, noise zones that create quality of life issues potentially if you have a lot of development in them, and endangered species habitats. One of the real successes, I didn't really dwell on it a lot in this presentation, but if you didn't know, the red cockaded woodpecker, once the bane of the existence of Fort Bragg, was actually downlisted within the last year due to the successful efforts that began here at Fort Bragg to preserve critical habitat for the species, working with partnership with the EPA and Fish and Wildlife to get that done. So that's really a big success, and Real Life was involved in that, helping to with land conservation efforts with what at the time was Sand Hills Area Land Trust, now Three Rivers. Challenges in recent years, protecting our aviation assets, those airfields has really come to the fore. Again, that off installation corridor between McCall and Bragg for UAS transit between those two areas. Still seeing residential growth occurring, of course, as infrastructure investments are made, roads are widened, utilities are extended. Residential growth continues to move into areas that were once very rural, where Fort Bragg could make noise without a lot of people complaining. And since Bragg hasn't reared its ugly head in 20 years now, that threat kind of takes some of these military land use compatibility issues out of the direct gaze of some of our community partners. And so we try and keep these issues before our members, do a great job of communicating these issues to their colleagues in local governments, but we're still trying to swim and maintain relevance in everyone's eyes, because these are very important issues for the Army. Moving forward, just some our board's goals, our organization's goals as we continue to carry forward with our mission. Just looking at new funding opportunities to take new initiatives. We're trying to do more community outreach events like this to help inform more people about what's going on. Expanding our education outreach missions, developing relationships with new partners. Always happy to meet new people. We try and include everyone on our meeting invitation list as we make new contacts. Maintaining and improving our compatible use rating system to make sure it reflects current conditions and needs of Fort Bragg, and exploring new opportunities for new compatible use planning studies through the Office of Local Defense and Community Cooperation, including potentially doing what's now called a military installation readiness review for Fort Bragg, if we can work out some things with local government partner funding. And just a point, Colonel Mixon earlier mentioned the Defense Community Infrastructure Program. There is a webinar on that coming up on May 13th, and I'll send that on to Carly to you, and she can send it out in case anyone here is interested. If you're on my distribution list, you've probably gotten that last week. And then if anyone is interested, I'll take questions in a second, but we have a website, rulac.com. You can email me. There's a contact form on there if you want to get signed up for our mailing list. We are having a meeting. Our next quarterly membership meeting is next Thursday, May 15th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. at the Douglas Community Center over in Southern Pines. We have a great presentation. Their planning director is going to be talking about some of the planning efforts they've been doing over there. We also have adopting our budget, have an election for one of our vacant board seats, and some other stuff going on. But we're happy to take any questions, and thanks again for allowing me to come speak to you today.
Got one question.
Yes, sir.
This might be the front mix.
Sure.
How much restriction are y'all on drones going over Fort Bragg? How much restriction on drones being flown over the military base?
Well, he mentioned the corridor out on the western side from McCall to into the main Fort Bragg area. That's the restricted area that we protect the kids. So outside of that, we're constantly in contact with, trying to remember the name of the Washington flight, where we control all the drones over Bragg. The flight, the altitude, the space, all my air traffic controllers are constantly engaged on that airfield managers. So we are restricted. We have to stay a certain altitude, anything above, and we're in trouble with the coordinator, which we never coordinate. All right. Thank you very much.
Diane, you want to say anything?
Just that we are in crossover, and if you don't know what that is, that means all the 1,000 plus bills that we heard this session are headed to the Senate, and we're going to be hearing the Senate bills. We're also in budget negotiations, looking dim for getting monies this year according to leadership. Western Carolina, we've given $1.5 billion to them so far, but they've asked for billions more. And so we're looking at possibly very little monies coming during the long session to the county, but all of your requests that you gave to me and the delegation have been turned in to the speaker on the House side. So we'll see what we are able to get in the budget. We do know that the monies for the veterans home that had damage from water damage has been put into the budget, and we're real hopeful for the $40+ million to be in full budget. Also, Cape Fear Valley Hospital with the orthopedic medical school. We're looking at getting $15 million for them. The Horace Fayetteville State and our community college is in the budget so far, and which are all good institutions that need further funding and doing great things in the community. After that, we'll see, because we'll be taking off the gloves here in another week, fighting for the monies we all want for our communities. So we're working hard, gonna be still working hard. We're putting in those 8, 9, and 10 o'clock nights that are a lot of fun. I'm on the health committee, a lot of bills going in to improve health in the state. I've had several bills myself that I have managed to get through on some health issues. So they're headed to the Senate, and we'll see what the Senate does with our bills, and we'll see what we're going to do with their bills. So that's where we are in the state, and on time, and actually under budget. So we're doing good.
Kurt, you want to say anything?
Sure. So if I sit here, I'll just sit. First, just want to thank the mayors for, letting us participate in this meeting. I think this is a great coalition that y'all have built over the years, and so glad to participate in this. Thank you for the work on the sales tax agreement. I think that was beneficial across our community, so thank you for working to get that done. We've got a couple final signatures to get, and then I'll finalize it. We're going to start our budget session in May 22nd, so finally, we know the revow. We're going to start talking about tax rate come May. The manager will present his budget on May 22nd, and then it becomes commissioner's budget, and we'll start working through our priorities through that session, hopefully have it done in June. We're starting something different this year, community engagement around the budget session, to encourage your residents to engage with we're doing coffee with commissioners, and it's all about come tell us your priorities from the ground. We've got them spread out across the county, and notice they're in not just Fayetteville Central, they're across the entire county. Also, as I've told some of you at some of your meetings that I've attended, your monthly meetings, we are starting some Parks and Rec sessions with the elected officials. As we go into this, we want to hear about the needs and the desires from the municipalities, so that we better understand as we begin to shape a new interlocal agreement with Parks and Recreation. We've got some dates on that. I quickly asked Faith Phillips, if you don't know Faith Phillips, she's one of our assistant county managers. She can give you the dates because I don't have them off the top of my head. We'll push this information out, but we've reached out to hopefully the elected bodies. It's an election. It's not a public in attendance, of course, but it's not a public listening session. We know that the elected officials are at the tip of the spear and understand the needs and wants in their communities. And so we want to engage with elected officials to make sure we clearly understand what's happening in your areas.
Absolutely. So as Chairman Devier said, we are going to be building off of those Coffee with Commissioners meetings. So for Monday, May 12th, the Coffee with Commissioners is going to be in Wade Town Hall. We're going to be building off of that for the Parks and Rec meeting from 11 a.m. until 12 p.m. We'll be sending out official invites after this, but we wanted to speak with you first. But we're looking at talking with folks from Eastover, Godwin, Falcon, Wade, and Linden. Then we are building Thursday, May the 15th from 4 to 5 p.m. So this is building off of the PFAS in the Dust Beyond the Tap program at the J.D. Pone Recreation Center. 4 to 5 p.m. will be representatives from Grays Creek, Vander, Stedman, and other parts of District 2. Then on Thursday, 29th, we will be back here at Spring Lake from 9 to 10 a.m. with Spring Lake representatives.
Thank you. Again, I want to make sure that the mayors, understand that the county's here to support you. We want you to understand that you can reach out to me, our vice chair, other commissioners, as we're engaging, but we're being very deliberate about the process that we're going through to engage all the municipalities across this community. And I'll be real brief. Lastly, just thanks again for those of you that are able to attend the State of the County. Hopefully you heard that message of collaboration, one that we all rise and fall together. If you didn't get a chance to to see it, it's online on our YouTube page, which you can reach out to our county. You can go to our website and you can find it there as well on our YouTube channel. So you can get a chance to watch it. Not that I want you to hear me speak, but there's a good message around it. And lastly, just this morning, what you saw with emergency management, that's a perfect example of how we're working together. Right now, we've got public safety officials from across the county that I invited in direct. I invited them in to have a conversation around how we do that better, how we have a joint communication center. That is a model across the United States. And really, I was just in DC this week with other community leaders from the Chamber of Economic Development, and what we heard was just exactly what they were talking about. We met with members from the White House, we met with our congressional delegation, and we heard it's about collaboration, we heard it's about working together, but from an emergency management standpoint, we heard it's about how do you prepare, not react, but how do you prepare. And so I'm hopeful that we will see some joint work with our emergency management team across this community, having one PSEP. That is the model that you're seeing across North Carolina. It puts those resources together. It allows us to lean forward across our community to manage that, to be proactive. So I'm looking forward to the information that comes back from our public service folks, and then we'll make some decisions at the elected levels, but it was important to get that information from them. Thank you again for what you guys do. Know that I'm a phone call away, and you can reach me by cell, text, or however you want to reach me. I try to be accessible. So thank you for the opportunity to join in the meeting this morning.
Well, thank you, and you're always open, and we appreciate you coming to our meetings a lot. There is one issue I'm going to bring up. I don't know. We rural fire departments have a lot of problems with retention. Just like the other day at Stony Point, the guy was hit by a car. Is there any way in the future we could have some kind of joint protection for these firefighters through insurance or something that may be considered some way or time?
And I think that's a good point. There's a lot of different levels that we can look at it from stuff at the state level. And I know it's being worked even when I was there, that I know continues to be worked from a healthcare standpoint. But I think not only from the thing that I've been talking to the Chiefs Association with all the rural fire departments there is about that retention and what we can do to look to how we can help them. It's not just volunteers becoming full-time and part-time, and that's where they can get into some of the benefits and some of the opportunities that are out there. So it's a conversation that's ongoing. It's a needed conversation, in my opinion. It's something we should have been addressing 5, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, because we're getting in a critical need now. But I hear you, and I think Chief Johnson.
I mean, each fire department could pay into the fund.
Well, I think there's some opportunities based on the way the state healthcare plan is around firefighters and first responders, that if we do the recruitment and provide a framework where these rural fire departments can have more people full-time or even part-time on their books, that opens up access to benefits. And I think that's the path. That solves some recruitment issues that they're having. We've got some fire departments out here that if there's a disaster that happens in Fayetteville, a lot of those, city of Fayetteville, a lot of those people, a lot of those volunteers work for the city of Fayetteville. So now I got a fire department that potentially couldn't man their trucks. So I think addressing upstream that problem of recruitment, and that's something that we're having some aggressive conversations with the chief about, and hopefully we can find some resources to be able to do that. But I think in empowering them to get full-time and part-time type people will help solve some of those benefit issues.
And particularly 95, 295, a lot of our fire departments have to man those roads.
That's right.
Thank you, Kurt, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Round table discussion. Wade?
Well, we're working on our budget. I'm sure everyone else is, waiting on Mr. Bailey.
We're going low.
And we're planning for our Founders Day, which will be June 7th this year, and we welcome all y'all to come out and have festivities.
Good thing.
That's about all that's going on.
Thank you, John. Spring Lake?
First of all, I do want to give regards on behalf of Mayor Anthony. Her flight, she was supposed to fly out of Charlotte at 6 p.m. last night, and they canceled it at 2 a.m. She finally got on the flight this morning about 7:30, so she told me to give her regards. And as far as issues I have, I always say this, I want all of us, small cities and towns, to have a seat at the table with the county boards and initiatives. Like, I feel like we should be on the civic center, you know, all of us, we should have, because we all of our people go. So that's one of my biggest things, and I do want to thank you all for what you did with the homeless situation here in Cumberland County, because it's really dire. I think we all are experiencing some type of homelessness in our communities. And so that is a big need. And I just want to thank everybody for coming to Spring Lake. And that's
Appreciate you hosting us. Hope Mills.
Thank you, Chairman. If you drive around Hope Mills, you're going to see a lot of road widening projects on Camden and Rockfish. It looks like barren land all the way up on both sides. But nonetheless, that is progress that's about to kick off as we continue to grow in Hope Mills. Our spring so far has been robust. In April, we had an opening day for baseball with baseball teams, and it was probably the largest crowd of people, close to 4,000 people there in the parks at one time. Our community events continue to grow. I can't speak enough about community recreational opportunities. We're still looking for funding to replace a building that we have that was built in 1983 when there was a population of probably 4,500. But today, we're 2025. And we need some help there. We're looking for some help with that. And Colonel Nixon, I applaud what you guys are doing with Stryker. I think if you look at the community recreational opportunity, that would be something that would enhance everyone in Fort Bragg.
It's under review, so make that clear.
Yeah.
Decision's not made yet.
I know, but I really like when I heard that, I really like that.
I love golf, but we'll skip it.
Yeah. We have coffee with the commissioners May 21st at 8. But my question was, these other meetings, are Parks and Rec meetings separate from the coffee meetings?
Yes.
Okay.
So Parks and Rec are for the elected. We're just using the timing to leverage locations. The Coffee with Commissioners is for constituents, for the citizens across Cumberland County to engage with the commissioners. The Parks and Rec meetings are directly to you and your boards, and we encourage you to bring your boards.
Okay, so do we schedule that meeting? Okay, we can do that today. We'll do that today then. Yeah, because May 21st, I put it out last night. I've had 2 town hall meeting styles during the last month. I feel like Julius Caesar. I got stabbed 33 times, both of them. But honestly, you get a lot of feedback from the community when you do this. But you gotta be tough-skinned to do it. And I had a big one last night again for 2 hours just to listen to students, citizens, good, bad. Yeah, I heard of it. I did. And I shared coffee with commissioners. I said, look, if you've got some county issues that you really want to talk to the commissioners about, come the morning of May 21st at 8 o'clock. And that was really good because there will be some that's going to come. And they appreciate the opportunity for the open engagement. Well, actually, our town manager will propose our operating budget on May 19th. And that will be before the county. But nonetheless, we know you're going low. Well, we're going low too, as low as we possibly can. Then we'll have some public hearings in June, and then hopefully we'll adopt it in June as well. And then lastly, I've got a state of the town thing that I'm going to do on May 20th. Talk about all the great things that we've done, and that pretty much models your message that you had for the state of the county, which was an outstanding address. It really, truly was. of collaboration and partnership. And let's kind of want to build on that. So that's kind of what we're doing in Oak Hills.
Thank you, Jess, appreciate it. Yeah, Falcon?
Mayor Lucas, and if, I'd like to reemphasize the part about fire departments and volunteers. They're gone. And it's not just Godwin Falcon, it's not just Cumberland County, it's not just North Carolina, it's the United States. Volunteerism is gone. So anything that can be done to help the fire departments, and as was previously, and I appreciate Wade's mayor there mentioning this, because anything that can be done, because we have paid people, we don't have people 24 hours a day, but we have paid people, but we're competing obviously with other fire departments, and volunteerism was bad before COVID, and after COVID, it got worse. And they provide, when I say fire departments, Cumberland County don't have a Cumberland County Rescue Squad, folks. If you have protection in that regards, it's that fire department. So you're wearing two hats. I would say Godwin Falcon and 95 Project has really driven our numbers obviously up. This is not 55 years as a firefighter. That tells you anything. 1970, I got out of the Army. There was no fire department. Wade was organized 1 year before us in 1969. We organized in 1970. These two are still there. Now, I don't answer every call. I retired as a paid chief. And I answer the calls when I know they're short. But this is year 55. But the additional burden of rescue on top of a fire department is also cut down on volunteerism. So I just want to emphasize the fact that anything that can be done at whatever level to support your fire department should be a top priority.
Thank you. Eastover, Cheryl?
Like everyone else, working on the budget. Manager's doing a really good job putting that together and working with the county on different aspects of changes. Ballpark's coming along. We've got a new smaller kids playground being put in, hopefully finishing today if weather permits. And we've got some exciting concerts that I'll let Stan talk about. Stan does a great job putting together with the committee some concerts that happen in Eastover. Sam, I'll let you take that.
This will be our third year doing this. We'll get a little bit bigger each year. We'll have 4 concerts this year. The first one being May 31st at 6 p.m. It will be the Catalina's Band. And June 14th, we'll have another one. That will be 7 to 10. It will be River Mist, which is about as good as you can get. It was a local group. July 12th will be North Tower, which is kind of a homeboy from one of the members of the homeboy. He grew up out on Baywood Road and went to Cape Fear. And then we'll close out on August 23rd with Jim Quick and Coastline. So we look forward to everybody coming over to enjoy the concerts with us. Bring a chair, we'll have a good time.
And they're all free.
All free. There will be a concession stand open and there'll be food trucks. So we'll feed you, and if you have issues with getting from the car in the parking lot to the thing, we have little golf cart shuttles. We'll go get you and bring you over there. So, all right.
Appreciate it. Willie, Godwin?
Godwin is finally looking pretty good. We're just starting 216 houses in the city limits of Godwin. And we have been, we've got one problem, we've got water. We need some water for the people when they get there. If we get the water, hopefully we can get it. And our fire hydrants are painted black. We talk about fire. Our fire hydrants are painted black. fire truck too. So we had to paint them black. But now recently, Garden Factory Fire Department went out and painted them all red. But my engineer says that they shouldn't be painted red, but they're painted red. So I don't know what happened there. They said they were on the floor and it was high enough to put a fire truck to it. But other than that, Darwin is doing real good. Yeah, Darwin is doing real good. If we can get everything done, economic development asked me for, they wanted 100 acres under the power line where they could get a lot of power. I got that. They wanted 100 acres right by 95, where they could get right on, get off of 82 right on to 95. You can see the 95 from this site. I got that. So we're just waiting to see what that's going to be. We're looking for jobs. We got houses. We want some jobs. So if we get that, then Darwin hopefully won't be the smallest town in the community. I mean, in Cumberland County. But right now, we're the smallest.
We gonna make
don't
it
have
bigger.
dollar jump. We don't have nothing.
You gonna make it bigger.
We're gonna make it bigger.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
There's one resource in Cumberland County that I think has always been underused. The Cape Fear River is an asset. And I realize it causes flooding from time to time, but it's never been developed around that river like it could have been. For whatever reason, I don't know, but it's a real asset.
That water in it is the larger asset that we need to make sure that we understand and protect.
And why has PFAS became such a widespread North Carolina problem now instead of just the Grays Creek and DuPont area?
I just think as it became more relevant and more testing across the community or across the state and identifying in different locations.
It's more widespread than what I ever thought.
You've got to be careful there too, because state entities like the EMC is looking to change some of their policies around the governance of the corporations and allowing them to do self-monitoring versus external monitoring. Hasn't been done yet, but they're discussing that at the EMC level, which is a state agency that provides direction on those types of things. So we're watching that and having input on that as well, and talking with not just our state delegation, but some other folks as well.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be in the city of Fayetteville in August. And I appreciate them hosting it, but I don't know if we've got anybody tagged for November, have we? Oh, Mills. Okay, that's right. I did remember that. This time, anybody else got anything to say?
One more thing, Rose Pond. We're finally getting some action at Rose Pond. I had a meeting with Michael Gibson. He came up to my office and he finalized our plan for Rose Pond. Not really finalized, but he's working on it. And information and all that stuff. And the money that Ms. Diane Witness, Commissioner, she represented, let us have. It's been over a year ago.
You finally gonna get it?
We got the money, and I think it's back in Cumberland County. And so we're able to do some things now with that money. It first went to the wrong place, and then we had to fight to get back to Cumberland County. We got it, and so now we're ready to start work on Rose Pond.
Agree what happens when you convene a meeting and get people moving.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be a real asset to.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We've got some other work to do on it yet, but it's, at least we've got a plan on it.
One more thing, any questions?
We got some flyers for our concert series if anybody's interested in having one.
Thank you, Sam. It's time to have a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
All in favor? So carried.